gonna get the drink here real quick, and then we'll get started.
Thanks for organizing, Houston. Much appreciated.
Oh,
Happy St. Patrick, everyone.
Indeed.
All right, so we're 3 events into our meetup group here, and I'm really pleased with the consistent turnout. So the community keeps growing organically, and I'm really pleased to see that. And I do have a bit of some parallels to this. I can certainly see already that the trajectory that we're on is nice, because many years ago when I started this other meetup group, and some of you guys know the story, but folks who were not part of my previous meetup group, another meetup group, years ago, for traders, and that group ended up getting large. We ended up having over 1,000 members. But I recall the first meetup we ever had, I think, was like 10 people RSVP'd. It was an in-person event back then. It was in person, and then because I didn't know how people were going to show up, I held it at the local library here in the block. And then so I booked this room. I could hold like 30 people, and then it ended up being me and one other guy. There's just us 2 in the room, and yeah, so that was how it began. But ultimately, when things go organically over time, if you just and then you build value, and people enjoy what you're building, then yeah, things can grow. So I'm happy that we're already at a good rate of growth here, and people are getting involved. So I think the fact that we're turning this thing to a DAO, I think also is going to make a big difference. The community itself will be able to drive the direction of where it wants to take things. So I think that's a very nice angle. So I don't want to waste any more time. I know Jonah has a hard stop at 7, so I'm not going to belabor our intro here. So why don't I just jump into my intro deck, and then I'm going to pass it over to Jonah, who is our main speaker tonight. So welcome everyone to our 3rd event. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy days to attend. We had a fun event tonight. We're going to go through a lot of good information, and hopefully this will help educate you guys around the DeFi crypto space. So if this is your first time with this group, I'll just do a quick intro about myself, and then I'll get to the agenda. But my name is Houston Trong. I'm a full-time crypto trader. Used to be a many-year equities options trader, but now a full-time crypto trader. As I mentioned already, I was the founder of another meetup group called Montreal Traders, and we put together this group here called DeFi Montreal at the beginning of the year. So really pleased that we're having this kind of turnout already at the inception. You can find me at The Real Trading Edge on Twitter. I'm getting more active on Twitter because that's where all the alpha gets leaked for crypto, and that's where you can find me if you want to drop me a line or follow along. So before I jump into the agenda, I'll just quickly talk about the purpose of the DeFi Montreal meetup group, and then we'll get to the agenda and our main speaker for the evening. But the purpose of DeFi Montreal, and just for a bit of a heads up, we may change the name of the group. So just a heads up, we're talking right now in our DAO chat that we might want to rebrand this while it's still new, because we are doing a lot more than just DeFi nowadays. That was kind of the idea in the beginning, but certainly as we build up this community, we have a lot of members who want to know more than just about DeFi. So right now we know the group is all encompassing. Talk about crypto, Web3, NFTs, and ultimately, we're a bunch of enthusiasts, builders, innovators, artists, users with a common shed of kind of crypto values, who have a desire for equal opportunity and a willingness to learn and exchange ideas. That's kind of the purpose of building this community, and to advocate for a world that serves our needs better. That is, I think we've been seeing over the past year or so the effects of our current financial system and how easily it is to financially repress individuals. And kind of the whole goal of crypto, Web3, is the ability to now allow people to be a little more self-sovereign and not rely so much on our legacy financial institutions. And the last part is around, of course, the need, the desire, the most important thing, that's the ability to socialize, get to know other people not just virtually, but also in real life. And very soon, I think we'll get a chance to once again meet in person and get to shake hands and socialize in real life. So with that being said, that's the purpose of the Meetup group. And here is the agenda for the evening. So we just went through the welcome. The second bullet point here is in a few moments, I'm going to pass it over to Jonah over at Metis, and he's going to give us a really good deep dive, or at least a good 101 on the Metis chain and the ecosystem that's been built around it. Very, very fast growing chain. Number three, actually, we're not going to talk about the DAO tonight. So I'm going to scratch that one. Let's just remove that off the list. We're not talking about the DAO. If you want to hear about the DAO discussion, we have a call tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock. We're doing these weekly community calls. If you're interested in hearing about how we're structuring the DAO, the kind of work streams we're doing right now, and the kind of topics that we're working on, or if you have any ideas you want to share with us, then you can join us tomorrow at 4 o'clock. And then when Jonah has a hard stop at 7, so then after that, he'll pass the mic back to me, and I'm going to give a quick crypto market overview. We'll take a look at some of the TVL across the different chains, some of the hot projects that are going on in the DeFi rundown section, and then we'll wrap up by doing some. I'll give out some resources. There's going to be a little POAP giveaway. POAP stands for, of course, Proof of Attendance Protocol. So the little POAP's kind of like an NFT, so kind of a POAP drop at the end of the call. And finally, if you have any questions that you did not get answered throughout the session, then you can we can pick those up during the questions and answers section. Lastly, before I pass it over to Jonah, a little blurb at the bottom. Definitely make sure you read that. Everything today is for informational purposes only and not financial advice. So even though Jonah is very knowledgeable, I've talked a couple of times, and he knows this stuff very, very well. And you could argue that I'm fairly well informed as well, but we are not your financial advisors. So just understand that anything you do invest in is very risky, and you can lose everything you put in. So do your research properly, DYOR, and consult your financial advisors before making any investment decisions. All right. So Antoine, can you give the presentation rights over to Jonah, and then I'll just check the chat here. I'll just open it up. Are there any questions before Jonah gets going? Well, he sets up here. I'll just check and see if there's any questions. Okay, no questions in the pod. No one's raising their hands. All right. All good. All right, perfect. Thank you, Jocelyn. Jonah, do you want to share anything?
Well, I mean, I would share. I didn't prepare a presentation. Am I able to? I usually use Zoom, not Google Meet. Am I able to share screen just and go through what's on?
For sure. Yeah.
I just hit present now.
Yeah. Click on the share screen option there.
My entire screen. Okie doke. Fine. Share. Okay. So I am Jonah. I am I'm presenting my screen now. Enjoy my many tabs. I am Chief Marketing Officer and Head of Business Development for Metis. And by the way, Houston, you are in good company. There is not one person who ever pronounces it correctly. And of course, the fact that we're all Quebecers here, we might think that it's like Les Metis, right? But it isn't.
Right.
Actually named after the Greek goddess of wisdom and cunning and good counsel. So our CEO is a woman. Her name is Elena Sinelnikova. And I will tell you a story of how this company got founded because it really informs a lot of what's going on. And then after that, I'll share some screens and we'll do a little bit of a demo. We'll take you through some of the DeFi and other stuff on Metis just because, first of all, when you see how fast the transactions are, you'll be like, why am I on all these other garbage chains? Because we crush everybody and we're going to dominate the world. And that's the end of that. So here's what happened. About 3 or 4 years ago, a woman named Elena, who was very good friends with a woman named Natalia, they were in Toronto, and people would come up to them, especially female friends of theirs, and would say, hey, what's Bitcoin? What's blockchain? I don't really understand. And so they said, well, let's have coffee and we'll talk about it. And so they did. And that coffee turned into some meetups. And then those meetups grew, and they started having meetups all over Toronto. And then they started meetups all over Canada and all over the United States. And now they're in 56 countries. And that humble beginning became something known as Crypto Chicks. Crypto Chicks is one of the largest blockchain nonprofits in the entire world, focused on education and advocacy. The idea is to make it accessible to everybody. Really, really fits the vibe here at DeFi Montreal. The idea here is not to make it intimidating, but just the opposite, to make it welcoming. And maybe you don't have a ton of experience, and maybe you've never even used MetaMask before, but hey, walk you through it. Here's what it's like and all that. So that, obviously a great success story. And what ended up happening was out of that Crypto Chicks large environment came an ecosystem. And so a bunch of devs started showing up and talking to them. And Elena, the co-founder of Crypto Chicks, met up with two guys, Kevin and Yuan. Kevin was a serial founder and a great product guy, really good ideas, man. The other guy is Yuan. Yuan came from Hyperledger. He was a dev. He had started coding at age 6, a bit of a loon, but in the nicest possible way. These are my bosses, so obviously I'm not going to go too hard on them. And the three of them decided to form a company. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to take all of the principles that came from Crypto Chicks, which is inclusion and making it accessible to everybody and making it non-intimidating, and put that into the form of an actual blockchain company that could theoretically make a profit one day as well. So that is how Metis came to be. The company was officially launched at the end of 2018, early 2019, roughly. And at first it was called Metis DAO. And the idea, and if you follow us on Twitter or Telegram or anything, it's always Metis DAO. But our company name is actually Metis now, and I will explain why and why this is relevant. So what they envisioned at first was to form something like a DAO or DAO tooling or some way of helping people with DAOs, because they believed that DAOs were a great way to foster real inclusion and representation in blockchain. But as time went on, they realized that the more important or more pressing concern was scaling Ethereum. Because by that point, 2019, Ethereum really started to grow, and gas fees, which used to be low, started being very expensive. And so they realized that in order to fulfill their wish, to fulfill their mission of blockchain for everybody, the first thing that they had to do was build an Ethereum scaling solution. So they decided to build an optimistic rollup. Let's talk about what a rollup is, and let's talk about what an optimistic rollup is. So a rollup, and I don't originally come from the blockchain world, so I can explain things in non-tech forms. I'm actually not smart at all, which is perfect. It makes it easy to make presentations. Alexandra has a thumbs up. She's like, good. Please don't tell me any of that stuff. So basically, if you're a rollup, you take a bunch of transactions which are put in on Ethereum, let's say 100, you put them in a ball, and you basically throw them, and then they're processed. That's it. So it's this bundling effect. So if you can imagine a telecom company, right? They're not processing one call at a time, they're processing a whole bunch. We basically do the same thing. We serve as like a funnel, and it enables a bunch of transactions to be processed at the same time. We're literally not literally, but we're rolling them up. That's why it's called a roll up. So the effect of that is that transactions on Ethereum, which could be like $100 sometimes or even more, end up costing much, much less, and they're way faster, way, way faster. And an optimistic rollup refers to the company called Optimism. So in blockchain, it is quite common to what's called fork. Now, in the real world, people wouldn't necessarily take kindly to if you exactly copied them. If you were a person who wore this kind of ripped jeans and this color Doc Martens and this shirt or whatever, and your next door neighbor started dressing like you every day, that would be extremely creepy. Okay, but in blockchain, it's totally normal to do this. The idea, though, is that you provide utility from a fork. So we forked Optimism. We thus became an optimistic rollup. There's another company called Boba. They did the exact same thing. They're an optimistic rollup. So they are hard forks of that project called Optimism, and they have this rollup structure. But what does that mean to be an optimistic rollup? Basically, what it means is it enables blockchain developers to be able to migrate to our network, and as well as to Optimism and Boba and so on, very quickly, very cheaply, and very easily, because we are what's called EVM equivalent. What is EVM? EVM is the virtual machine of Ethereum. Why does that matter? Because most chains are EVM, and most decentralized apps, dApps, are also EVM. And so as a result, you basically just want to make all this fast, cheap, and easy. This goes to exactly what we were talking about. If we can make it fast, cheap, and easy for anybody with any kind of coding skills to come onto our network, all of a sudden we can have really cool DeFi. We can have games. We can have metaverse. We can have all these neat projects. And instead of it taking a month, it could take a day or less. really easy, and that's the way we do it. So that's basically the basis of what we do. In addition, we want to make it easy for users, and users have some of the same pain points that developers have. They do not want to spend $100 per transaction. They do not want it to be slow, and they want everything to be intuitive. So by rolling up these transactions, what we enable is that instead of you paying about $100 per transaction, we're less than $1. And when we get to the end of March, which is 2 weeks away, we will be about 30 cents. So there is something called the blockchain trilemma. This is a very important, probably the most important thing to know in blockchain. The trilemma is a triangle. There are 3 points to the triangle. There's decentralization, security, and scalability. What does that mean? Decentralization is exactly the opposite of everything that we do in real life. Banks are a pain in the ass, and your, Videotron is a pain in the ass. Everybody's a pain in the ass. It's one person behind a curtain, and they're basically deciding things. Decentralization holds that it is different. DeFi, decentralized finance, it's the same idea. So we want to move away from governance, where it's one person or 3 people or whatever who are deciding things, and have our community decide things. So not long ago, we put out the first, I'm actually going to pull this up. Let's see if we can find it. The first decentralization roadmap of any layer 1 or layer 2 company. And it basically demonstrates everything that we're doing. This is our Medium account, by the way. metisdao.medium.com. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but essentially what we're talking about here is what is involved with this company. So we only have 10 million tokens total, and our founders and the team only have 7% of the tokens. I cannot express to you how extremely, extremely low that is. We are not governed by VCs. We raised $5 million, which is like 5 cents in blockchain terms. Our competitors raised 100 million, 500 million, $1 billion. Like, this happens all the time. We don't do that. By being not beholden to VCs, we are able to build for the community, for people like you guys. And we don't make decisions based on what the VCs tell us. We make decisions based on what our community wants. So there's all these landmarks, and you can go to metisdao.medium.com. There's lots of great information. But this is the big one. Metis belongs to you, not to us. And basically what we're talking about here is that by Q3 of this year, our entire tech infrastructure, basically everything that we do, will be governed by our community. So we will still exist, I'll still exist, our devs will still exist, but we will be working out of a side foundation and basically building on demand. When the community says we really need banana splits on our network, we'll build a banana split, and then I'll market it and talk about how it's better than other banana splits, and that's it. So that's a really exciting construct. It basically, we're 6 months or less from having everything, about 6 months, everything go to our community. Our community decides everything. And that is really consistent with this idea of DAOs, right? You guys were talking about maybe forming a DAO. So we have decided that we are going to build something, and this goes back to what we're talking about. We're scaling Ethereum. Next step is to really kind of come through with that governance idea. So a DAO at its basic idea is focused on voting and governance, meaning you have 20 people and you have like something like snapshot.org, and there will be a question and there will be a vote, and that's it. And you usually vote on chain, which means you pledge your tokens and you actually deliver the vote as opposed to a piece of paper around the room. Great, but limited. If you can only do voting, that is not a company. And what we realized after a certain amount of time was, in order to really be financially inclusive, we wanted to have individuals or companies be able to build decentralized businesses on a blockchain. So in other words, if you're Aldo Shoes or whatever, you're conducting your entire business on chain. If you're Houston and 20 friends and you're trading NFTs with each other and chatting and all that stuff, you could do it all on chain. So in order to do that, we decided to build something called DAX, which is a decentralized autonomous company as opposed to a decentralized autonomous organization. What is a DAC? A DAC was first proposed by a guy named Vitalik Buterin 9 years ago. Vitalik, of course, is the co-founder of Ethereum and arguably the most recognizable person in this entire industry, very influential. By the way, remember I said Elena and Natalia were the co-founders of Crypto Chicks, and Elena went on to become the CEO of Metis. Well, Natalia went on to work for Metis too, and her son happens to be Vitalik. That is, when we are known for something, we're often known for that. We don't want to be known for that necessarily because she is a three-dimensional person and we are a three-dimensional company. But FYI, if you read the memes, they are indeed true, and Natalia is a lovely person. Anyway, So Vitalik proposed this idea of DAX, and it would be everything that you would see in a real life company, but on chain. So what does that mean, everything in a real life company? So think about how you transact. If you work for anybody, small company, big company, or whatever, you probably have something like Slack, right? Even you guys, us, we have Slack and we're communicating. So Metis will take the best open source version of a messaging platform and port it into a template for a DApp. You probably have some kind of enterprise software, ERP, CRM, whatever. We are taking the best open source version of that product, which basically helps run a company, and applying it to a DApp. You probably have payroll management. You probably have some sort of freelance service. You probably have a lot of basic tools that go into running a company. All of those, what we would call Web 2 tools or real world tools, are being put into a template. And that can enable companies to do anything that they would do in the real world, but on chain. And if you do things on chain, you all of a sudden have all these advantages. For instance, if transactions are 30 cents, then all of a sudden things become much cheaper than in the real world, where basically if you have to do anything, you have to talk to a consultant, it's 10 grand. That's very exciting. The speed of it is very exciting. And for companies that care, not all do, but some do, the decentralization is very important. So that's all being built out this year. We are in the process of building out our DAC infrastructure, and it'll be gradual. So at first, our entry point might be that we reach out to Pepsi, and Pepsi mints an NFT, and that's the extent of our relationship. But as time goes on, maybe we pick off the, Abiti Miskamang wing of Pepsi, and they come on with their 10 employees, and they're on chain. And then we go get Gatineau, and then we go get whatever, Sudbury, and then we get Bangladesh, and we keep going. So that's the idea, is to scale it out gradually. And the real killer, in addition to this DAC infrastructure, which, by the way, nobody's building, 9 years since Vitalik first talked about it, not anybody, not BSC, not Solana, not Avalanche, not Phantom, not Optimism, not Arbitrum. There is no chain that's building any of this stuff except us. In addition to that, we are building what's called middleware. If you know anything about software, middleware is basically like what Oracle builds, which is you have an operating system and you have apps, and you need glue to connect it. So we are building that. So how does that manifest itself in blockchain? Again, templates. What we're enabling are smart contract templates. And once those are built out, and that'll be a couple months from now, it will enable anybody to be able to get onto blockchain and form one of those DACs and start their business on chain with zero blockchain coding required. Zero. So if any of you have some basic Java skills, but you don't know blockchain coding from anything, which, by the way, I don't even have Java skills, forget about blockchain skills, but this is quite common, right? That is a killer, because all of a sudden you could send your assistant to the assistant intern coffee fetcher, and they go boop, 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 and it looks like your Gmail Tinder account or whatever, and that's it, you're on chain. It's super easy, it takes a minute. So this is really exciting, and this is consistent with our blockchain for everybody mentality, where, wait a minute, if you don't need to code, and if anybody can build a decentralized business on chain and benefit from everything that's going on, and by the way, the blockchain trilemma, which we started to talk about, and I will go back, I have a tendency to do that. Decentralization, security, and scalability. So the most decentralized and secure network is Ethereum. Even rivals of Ethereum would acknowledge that is the case. It's not Phantom, it's not Avalanche, whatever. So that's great. So by definition, if you can build your project on top of Ethereum, you will inherit those characteristics of decentralization and security. We are a rollup, a layer 2, what's called a layer 2 network built on top of the layer 1, which is Ethereum. Therefore, we inherit their decentralization and security. By pairing that with gas fees that will be 30 cents at the end of this month, all of a sudden, we have solved the blockchain trilemma. We're not spending $100 per transaction, as you would on Ethereum, but we're maintaining decentralization and security. And if you guys follow anything that's going on in the blockchain world, what has happened recently? We see, and I'm not dumping on anybody. We are respectful about our competition. I'm merely pointing out stuff that's happened. Solana has outages. Polygon had one game deploy on our network, everything ground to a halt. They're not built on top of Ethereum, and they don't inherit the benefits of Ethereum, including security and decentralization, but including that scaling ability. And so all of that puts us in really good position to, frankly, take over the world. You know, that's basically what we're talking about. So that's kind of Metis in a nutshell. We launched our mainnet in November, so we're 4 months old now, even though we started our company 3 years ago. And I will take you through a little bit of a DeFi demo just to show you some of the dApps on our network. And then I want to leave lots of time for questions and also just discussion. This isn't me on a mountaintop. I have no desire to be a professor. I would prefer to just chit chat because that's my personality. So yeah, let's share some stuff. So we're going to go here to NetSwap. Okay, so if you look at NetSwap, you will see that NetSwap looks like Uniswap or like anything else, right? This is a fork of Uniswap v2. There are some differences, but we're not going to bother with the differences. Okay, so what do we have here on NetSwap that we can do? So you see that we have Metis, and I have 0.177 Metis. Now this is interesting, and here is the really interesting thing about Metis as well. Metis is the gas fee for the Metis network in the exact same way that ETH is the gas fee for the Ethereum network. So, and we never give financial advice. Buy, don't buy, that has nothing to do with me. I don't get any commissions, it doesn't matter. But if a token has true utility, such as running an entire network the exact way that ETH does for Ethereum, that separates it from Dogecoin or whatever. Doesn't mean that Dogecoin can't go up, it absolutely could, but there is an underlying value behind it because it is a utility token. Okay, so we have 0.17 Metis, right? And we want to swap it, okay? I'm going to swap it for something. So I'm going to pick something. I'm going to pick USDC. You know what? I'm going to take a profit on my 0.177 Metis. Okay, so, and this is connected to MetaMask just like any other network, right? So we're going to go and we're going to do 0.05. I don't know if that's, okay, there we go. So that's 0.05 Metis, and it's going to be swapped for $7.24 in USDC. You can see the price impact is basically nil. The price itself is virtually nothing. Liquidity provider fee is many, many decimal points. All fine. Okay, so I'm going to swap. Confirm the swap. By the way, on chain, as soon as I hit confirm on MetaMask, this is all because MetaMask is slow. As soon as I hit confirm, it's actually going to confirm faster than my web browser can process it. Here we go. Done. That was a swap. I defy you to find a network that is faster than that. There are none. There are zero. And that, you know, maybe that matters to you and maybe it doesn't for a swap. But I'll tell you, if you are gaming on our network, if you are involved in a metaverse on our network, that very, very much matters. The speed of it, the performance of it, the smoothness of it matters a heck of a lot. So that's basically what we're talking about. There are all kinds of other sites that we have. Let me see if I can show you. Let's show you Agora. Okay, agoradefi.io. So Agora is a money market. It's kind of like Compound. It's basically a fork of Compound. If you know Compound, very famous DeFi app. So I go over here and I get 100,000 Telegram messages a day because that's what happens in this industry. So a money market is very much like a backbone kind of app on a network because it allows you to borrow or to lend, and that can set you up to do all kinds of things. So if you want to be super aggressive, you can borrow, and then you can get involved with more than that. That's good. That's one of our companies telling us that they want $1 million. That's completely very professional. That should be on my screen. There you go. So you can see here that if you want to supply a stable coin, okay, you're getting 4 or 5%. If you want to supply Metis itself, you're getting 8%. Here's an interesting one, Metis, which is another DEX on our network, a decentralized exchange like NetSwap. Their native token, you can get 30%, and so on. And so you've got all kinds of functionality here, and it's the same kind of thing. You want to supply something, in fact, we could do that. Why don't we do that? Here. I'm going to go to USDC and supply the max. All right, $7.24. Supply. Big profits coming up on my $7.24 at 4%. And again, this is just MetaMask. This has nothing to do with the speed of our network. MetaMask is slow. We're faster than MetaMask. We're faster than Safari or Firefox or whatever you're using.
What is the block time?
The block time is variable. Layer 2s have variable block time, so it is difficult to measure it. There's not one specific block time. I wish I could give you a better answer than that, but that is the answer. But it is extremely fast, as you can see. And there you go. And it's now staked. So that's, or sorry, it's now lent. And so I'm now getting 4.4% on this. So that's the basic idea. There are all kinds of other stuff I could walk you through. I will show you one more thing because we have everything. You know, we have an NFT marketplaces and all that good stuff. We will have Aave soon. Aave, one of the largest, of course, DeFi companies. They will be integrating onto our network soon. We are pursuing Uniswap. We are pursuing Curve. We are pursuing SushiSwap. This is part of my job, is to go after partnerships. So this is Tofu NFT, which is an NFT marketplace. And you will see what a degen I am, because we're going to go to my wallet. And you are going to see that I own 287 NFTs. And some of them are copycats, and some of them are original. So this is really cool. I really like this one. This is an NFT project on Metis, and it's called Star Ledger. And the premise of Star Ledger, because our network is called the Andromeda Network. So they took 5,000 stars within the Andromeda galaxy and basically hired a bunch of artists and recreated what each of the stars looks like with the same kind of, ingredients, the same kind of features, attributes that you would have in a board yacht club ape or whatever. So here you can see that it's blue, and you can see the ranking and the rarity and so on. It's really, really cool. And they're building a metaverse project on top of that. There's all kinds of stuff. So all this is to say that essentially what we're talking about is that Metis, is not as well known as some other blockchains, but we have all the functionality of other blockchains. The difference is, if we're talking about no-code middleware where anybody can basically be able to deploy anytime they want, and if we're talking about dApps where anybody can build a decentralized business anytime they want, and if we're talking about inheriting the security and decentralization of Ethereum, as well as having 30-cent transactions, we feel like it puts us in really good shape. And for DeFi people, like you guys, you can see that we've got DEXs, we've got money markets. Here, I'll show you another one. This is called, I might end up showing you some of my bag. I'm not going to do that on purpose, but all right, fine. Okay, so this is a lot of money, but whatever. So this is called Starstream. So Starstream is a vault. It's a vault website, basically. It's an auto compounder. So you have pools.
Actually, Jonah, we're not seeing anything right now.
Oh, perfect. You're not seeing it, so that doesn't even matter. So fine. Hang on one second. That's actually good. One sec. Entire screen. Okay, good. Okay, so yeah, so Starstream is actually #1 on our network in TVL, in total value locked. And this is actually a thing that I really like, and it fits the spirit of our project. We are going to have those big projects. We're going to have Uniswap and Aave and all that good stuff. But our leading dApps right now are homegrown. They're just developers with a good idea who want support. So one of the things that we do is every time, we roll up all those transactions into a ball, 30% of our transaction revenue that we can collect, we kick it back to our partners. So they're actually collecting money over and over again on top of just a regular revenue stream. We're physically incentivizing them that way. And we're obsessive about providing support and marketing. We're up to about 125,000 people on Twitter. We are not like other blockchains. My crazy personality, I run our Twitter too, is very befitting of our company. Like, that's a good representation. We don't take ourselves very seriously. Again, we are a woman-led company, which creates a totally different vibe. It's a very flat structure. Even the CEO and the founders do not order anybody around. And we just kind of have fun. We build serious tech, but we're chill. We're normal people. We're not $10 billion in VCs and what's this and what. It doesn't work like that. And we believe that we can actually beat those companies in tech despite not having a ton of VC money, and despite not treating everything like, oh my God, it's the most serious thing in the entire world. And that's essentially how we operate. So yeah, so this is Starstream, and you can see some of the pools here. So basically you can pool stable coins. Stars is the native token. You can pool it with Metis rather, and there are all kinds of massive APYs, 778% for this, 630% for this, Maya, USDC. There are a million of them. Here's one, 3,199% for Hermes. Hermes is a fork of what's called Solidly. Solidly is one of the most famous DeFi projects. It was on Phantom. Their dev left. One of our devs forked it. Now we have the only Solidly model in the world. It doesn't, there's no support for it anywhere else. So that's all very exciting as well. I want to show you the progress that we've made. So this is our TVL. So this was, we were at, what is this, like 300 million? Yeah, 364, whatever, coming into last weekend. We went from 364 to 786 in 2 days. How did we do that? Solidly, that Hermes launch that I told you about, all those massive juicy APYs that you just saw, 3,000%, 2,000, whatever, is all because of this model, this Solidly thing, which is really, really, really exciting. It's complex, so if anybody has questions, I can send you some literature. But it doubled the size of our TVL in a day, which is outrageous. And we have all kinds of other really hot models coming. So Platypus Finance is a very, very popular one. Platypus is about to be forked onto Metis. Tomb Finance, very well known within the Phantom chain. Tomb is about to be forked onto Metis. Aave itself coming to Metis. Anything that you can think of that is the new hotness or the old hotness is either already there or about to be there. So, certainly gaming, NFTs, all that good stuff is there. But, since we are addressing the DeFi Montreal group, I can tell you that whatever you believe, whether you're a total degen and you want 20 billion% APY and you're just going to shoot the moon with leverage and you don't care, or you have some stable coins and you want like a nice steady 20% yield, either way, you're good. And that's the point of the network. So I will stop presenting. And yeah, that's basically it. So happy to engage. And again, I don't really view this as professorial, just happy to chit chat and get your thoughts. And I'm here to learn too. I think whenever you work for a project, instead of, because I started just by trading a little Bitcoin, Ethereum. Once you're in a project, you by default become a maxi. So I know some stuff about like what's happening on Phantom and Solana and whatever, but I'm sure you guys could teach me a lot. So yeah, I welcome questions or feedback or whatever.
Awesome, thank you, Jonah. So let's go to the chat, or let's go to the open room here. Does anyone have any questions for Jonah? You can raise your hand or just grab the mic. And
by the way, if anybody's super shy, I'll give you my Telegram handle at the end of it, and you can message me or whatever. I'm always reachable. I'm very accessible.
That's nice of you. Thank you, Jonah.
Has a question.
Yeah. Three main questions. So,
Yes.
looking at your website, how many devs you have in your team?
We have, so it's a very good question. Our devs are mostly based in China. If you know anything about China, you know that if you announce yourself publicly as being involved in crypto or blockchain in China, you are in very big trouble. That is why you see like 2 devs on our website, and in fact, we have about 20. So our whole team is about 50 people, and we have, I think it's like 22 devs, and only like 2 of them are visible. So yeah, I don't even know their names.
So how do you differentiate yourself from the Optimistic? Like, do you just fork Optimistic every time that they roll up a new update, or?
No, well, so our base code is based on Optimism. That is correct. So for instance, they went from EVM compatible to EVM equivalent. We inherit that. However, what differentiates us is multiple things. So, and we'll go deep into the tech, and I'll try to still keep it relatively simple. So we talked about the no-code middleware, right? The ability to mass migrate people not from blockchain, NFT marketplace. Yes, I will share all the links at the end. I'm happy to do that. That's a good question, ZM or ZM. I will. So the no-code middleware will enable that migration of people who are not on blockchain to come to blockchain. Nobody else is doing that. The DAC infrastructure is different. But even if you want to get to our actual tech architecture, we start as a fork of Optimism, but we are very different. And one of the ways that we're different is we are building out what's called peer nodes. So basically, nodes are how a network is run, and you want to be able to handle the load. So we are building out thousands of peer nodes all over the world, so that not when 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 people are using our network, but when millions of people are using our network, it will continue to run smoothly, fast, and cheap. That will stay the same. Because that's the question that we get is, well, that sounds nice and you're 4 months in. Sure, you're super fast. What happens 2 years from now? We will remain fast. We will remain smooth, and we will remain cheap because of all of these people, decentralized and anonymous, operating peer nodes all the way around the world. So I'm happy to share a white paper and all that stuff too. There's something called verifiers. There's something called rangers. We're building out this vast decentralized network that absolutely differentiates us from Optimism and others, in addition to the fact that we have the middleware, in addition to the fact that we have DACs, in addition to the fact that, frankly, we're just more hands-on than any other project. The level of hand-holding we have with both our community and our partners, and the enthusiasm that we have, absolutely sets us apart. Can that be measured? Can you go to l2beat.com and measure it? No, you can't, but if you go around, you'll see it. ZM asks another good question. Is there a Metis grant program? So I mentioned it before, but I'll talk about it more in depth. When you look at grants within blockchain, because there are all kinds of ways that you can do this. Other projects choose to just basically hand out, we'll call them bribes. Here's $50,000. Antoine Savoie, I think you're very awesome, and you should totally come to our network, and that's great. Well, Antoine, being a very smart person, is going to be like, oh, super cool. Hang around for 10 minutes and then bounce over to something else. And that's the end of it. And there's no incentive to stay. Antoine has secured the $50,000 and that's the end of it. So what we want is not mercenaries. We want a lasting relationship. So our builder mining program, and I'll share the link to that too, is revenue sharing in perpetuity. You give us your smart contract, you give us your wallet, and at the end of every month, we just automatically send you Metis tokens based on how many transactions you processed and based on the revenue that you raised and so on. It's a revenue sharing program. We're just kicking stuff back to our partners. This is what I talked about. Yes, we'll be fine. We're not going to go broke, but we are fiercely committed to being an incubator for future unicorns. We want projects to come on, get that builder mining, build momentum, benefit from our marketing. If you look at our Twitter, it's all talking about our partners for the most part. That's really what we're talking about. So instead of it being a straight bribery program where somebody leaves, it's you come partner with us and we will give you Metis tokens every month forever if you want it. And we feel that that ends up being more lucrative and more long lasting. Go ahead, Marc-Aurel. You said you had 3 questions, so yeah.
Yes, definitely. So what's the income source, or where's the funding from for Metis?
Yeah, it comes from transaction revenue. So every time we roll up transactions, we get money out of it. Like I said, we share some of that with our partners, but the rest we keep. And yeah, that's essentially how it works. Obviously, the appreciation of our token enables us to do certain things too, but we don't operate as if we're dependent on our token. It's a nice bonus. We did IDO at $5. We are now at about 150, meaning 150. So we're up 30x. We were at one point up to 320 or whatever, but of course the market came down. Being up 30x from our IDO in 10 months is still perfectly fine with us. And that's basically it. But again, that's a secondary source. It is our transaction revenue. That is how we run our company. And we do not want to do raises. If Sequoia comes to us tomorrow and says, here's $1 billion, we're like, no, because that doesn't fit with what we're trying to do. It takes away our ability to serve our community the way that we want to. It makes us beholden to somebody else. It just doesn't, that's not consistent with our DNA. It's not consistent with 2 women meeting in a coffee shop to talk to people and teach them about blockchain. And so that's going to be our philosophy going forward.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And basically the more, the more traffic, the more people, users, dApps that come to our network, the better we're going to be. If it's all revenue, then if we have 10 dApps, that's nice. If we have 50, that's better. If we have 1,000, that's better. With wallets, right? We started with no wallets. We launched mainnet and now we're at, 59,000 or something like that, which in 4 months is very nice. And the expectation is when Aave comes, it'll probably triple or quadruple the first day. So these are the kinds of things that we're working on. And we're cool with the idea of it really starting with natively built projects. Let them have their shine. Of course, we'd be happy to start with Uniswap and Aave on day one, but this idea of building gradually and really incentivizing smaller devs to come on board, again, is consistent with us. With these big projects, they have such giant war chests. They can benefit from our network because there's heat behind our network. Our token price is up. Our community is rocking. We got Solidly. We got all this stuff. But, they don't need us the way that a team from Turkey came to us, for instance, and they're forking 1inch. 1inch is like a DEX aggregator. And they're really smart kids, and they're, they got a lot going on, and they're great. But, maybe they need help. Maybe they don't have somebody who's fluent in English for marketing, and maybe they just don't have the reach that we have. We will take a project like that under our wing. And honestly, if we have $1 billion market cap and they go to 10 billion, we did our job. Our job is to lift up everybody, whether it's our community or our partners. You had another question, go ahead.
Yes, so I'll imagine you did some smoke tests. How many transactions per second can you handle?
Yeah, so our current upper range is 2,000. And basically every time Ethereum scales, we have the ability to raise that. So if ETH 2.0 comes out and they go to whatever, then we just 100x that every time. So 2,000 for now. There's no need for 2,000 per now. We're not that crowded yet, but when we get there, that will be our current limit. But yeah, as Ethereum scales, if you think of Ethereum as like the roads in a city, the roads are very important. We're the highway, right? Like we do the heavy lifting. If you want things to go much faster, the roads will always be important and the highway will always be important, and they sort of serve 2 different purposes. So it's already fast and it will get faster. And I should note, by the way, that if you look at some of the other networks, first of all, the ones that some of them promise like faster speeds than that, and you see them crash. And if you look at ones that charge less than 30 cents, that's great. You also see them crash, or they're sacrificing decentralization. So Polygon is an example. Polygon is a massive company. They have a lot of venture capital money, and they're very well known, and they have a large market cap, and that's all great. The way that Polygon works is they have a 5 out of 8 multi-sig basically structure. So if 5 people, and these are all like founders, it's not randos, if these people say, I'm done, they could bounce. Are they likely to steal your money? No. But is that consistent with decentralization? Also no. We are not yet fully decentralized either. But Polygon launched mainnet like a year and a half ago, and they're not there. We have a whole roadmap where we're going to be there 4, 5, 6 months from now. So we really, again, does that mean we're going to have a larger market cap than them? No, not necessarily. But we believe we have better tech, and we certainly believe that we're more committed to decentralization. So for developers who actually care about that, they're looking at the difference, they're deciding to go with us. And over, we're seeing people say, I tried Polygon. First of all, it ground to a halt because the Sunflower game launched and we weren't happy with the performance. And also we find that they're not decentralized, despite the fact that they say they are. They're a side chain. They're not a rollup. We like you guys. You're the underdogs. We're going with you guys. And at a certain point, we'll stop being the underdogs, and whatever market cap we have, we'll have, and that's it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you're talking about Sunflower and all, and did you test your smoke test up to failure? What is the failure point?
This is a tech question that I cannot answer, but we do test frequently. Yes, we had very rigorous testing before we went live. We were triple audited, and we've had a bunch of launches. So those launches have served as a real life stress test. One of them is a NFT project, and they would like mint a ton right away. So one of them, I don't remember how many NFTs came out at the same time, but the entire collection sold out in 40 seconds. So that's a lot of stress on the network. It was barely a blip. We had a couple of token launches that went live. Oh, a ton of traffic, was barely a blip. You saw this, right? Saw this spike in TVL in one day, and transactions went completely crazy. Over the weekend, by the way, on Saturday, here's a nice stat for you. When this Hermes thing launched, oh, you can't see it. I'm clicking a screen that you can't see. Anyway, when Hermes launched, that day and that weekend, we had more transactions over that 24-hour period than Polygon, Optimism, Arbitrum, and what was the other one? Phantom combined. That was our DEXs had more volume than all 4 networks DEXs did combined. And did we handle it? Yes. There was no lag on anything. There was no anything. So, we are not yet at the point where we have millions and millions of users. But Marc-Aurèle, the point of the peer node system is that we can scale theoretically infinitely. We have this horizontal scaling system. We spread out peer nodes across the world, and there is no overload, because if there's an overload in Liechtenstein, then it's accounted for in Belgium. And if there's an overload in Lac Saint-Jean, then it's accounted for in Ottawa. That's the idea, is we will be spread out everywhere. So yeah, that's basically it. As we grow as a network, we build out this decentralized network of peer node operators and verifiers to make sure that the network is always secure, does not go down, and always operates very well. I wish I could give you a more technical answer than that, but I have a BA. I'm not that smart. So. Apologies for the question. Yeah, I didn't mean to insult you. I'm just
exactly. Yes. BA people. All right. ZM has a question in the chat.
Go ahead.
He says, "Is there a native Metis launchpad, not third parties like Ignition?"
So on netswap.io. So this is interesting because NetSwap is a DEX. I showed you a demo of it, but they actually have a launchpad embedded on their DEX. So they've had one IDO so far. The next one will be March 29th. It is a project called DEXpools. DEXpools will be the first OTC trading desk on our network. So DEXs are all very nice, but there can be slippage issues, right? Until you get a ton of liquidity, you're probably going to have some slippage, especially if you're a whale. You want to buy $75,000 worth of something, there might be some slippage. So what an OTC trading desk enables is that myself and, let's say Jocelyn can execute a trade, and we can, transact for $50,000 or whatever. And that's it. Jocelyn says he's a BA working in tech. There you go. Yeah, I'm a marketing guy. But yeah, no, that's the idea, is that the OTC trading desk enables that. So it's called DEXpools, and it will go live on NetSwap. And it's really neat to have a launchpad attached to a DEX because it enables all kinds of interesting things. You can have all kinds of staking mechanisms that are supported by the DEX directly. You can have liquidity pools that are connected to the IDO. And full disclosure, this is pretty typical, we're so involved with our partners that sometimes we kind of lend our personnel to those projects. So I'm actually heavily involved in NetSwap too, and I help them kind of walk through what is the model that we can use to build out like the V2 of the launch pattern to keep evolving. And it's been really, really fun to be involved in that idea generation phase. So yeah, NetSwap is a pretty cool launch pad, and it's still new. So I mean, if you guys come in and you have feedback and you're like, oh, I like this, but I don't like this, you could tell me, and there's a chance that your change might actually be implemented. Like that is literally how we operate. We don't assume that our team is super smart. Our dev team is great, but we also recognize our community has so much to offer. And so we come in with humility, confidence, but humility. And we try to accommodate the community while also building the best tech that we possibly can.
So it's St. Patrick, and I'm already half drunk, but
Yes.
is there a net for Metis?
Yeah, there is a testnet. If you want the testnet after this is over, I will send you the link and you can screw around with it. I'll send you, there's a Metis dev group, which is basically a bunch of people who mess around with stuff. And if you want test tokens, I could probably our guy's in China, so he might be sleeping, but within the next few hours or whatever, he'll be able to send you some test tokens. You could definitely mess around all you want.
Yeah, please share with me all the links, Jonah, and I'll make sure that everyone on the call gets
100%.
the links.
I'll probably, I could do it let's do it afterwards, actually. That's fine.
Yeah, send it to me through Slack, and I'll make sure everyone gets it.
No problem.
Yeah.
One thing I will do is I will share my Telegram directly here.
There we go.
If somebody
Very generous. Please don't spam him.
Fireball me. Spam me all your ape coins or whatever. I should know, by the way, that I will be on leave starting on March 23rd. I'll be out for a little while. So the best time to contact me is probably before that. But yeah, go ahead. And it's,
I think.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just thinking, so while people are thinking of questions, I had a couple questions of my own, Jonah, if you don't mind. So what's your vision around Metis? So I'm seeing like a lot of other kind of L2 ETH chains, like for instance Arbitrum. They seem to be more of like Arbitrum seems to be a place where a lot of these derivatives are being kind of rolled out. Metis, you're the first chain that I've heard of. This DAC idea. Do you think that's your differentiator? Like, what do you think is the differentiator for Metis, and what do you think is going to be? Your vision of how that plays out.
I think DApps and middleware, the ability to get not just blockchain companies, but McDonald's can have cheeseburgers on blockchain. That's a crazy idea and an ambitious idea, and we believe that we can execute it. If you look at our DeFi offerings compared to Arbitrum, we don't have compound per se, but we have a compound fork. They have this, we have this. It's not that far off. And there can be a little bit of a zero-sum game, right? If you keep chasing the apps that somebody else has, then all you're doing is you're behind them by 3 months. And so we don't think that's all that interesting. There is new tech that comes into our network too, certainly. But we don't only want it to be the fork of the next thing or the copy of the next thing or even the migration of the next thing. So yeah, I would say that's definitely our vision. And more broadly, it really is, again, it sounds cliche, but to make blockchain accessible to everybody. And the way to do that is to have it with no coding and to have it so that anybody can build a business on chain. And yes, it helps to be cheaper. We will be cheaper than Arbitrum in 2 weeks. We'll be cheaper than Optimism. So that's not a bad thing either. And by the way, Optimism and Arbitrum don't have a token. Is a token the end all and be all? No, but you know what? It matters. It's a utility token, and you can also ape into it and maybe make money off of it. So that's nice.
Yeah. So what's your go-to message? Like, how do you begin to convince these corporations that are currently non-blockchain based, or maybe they're private blockchain based? Like, what's the messaging around convincing them that they should go to a Metis or that the blockchain thing is something for them and not just I
think what blockchain, one of the things that blockchain does best is it's good with large quantities of data, right? You could do all kinds of things with data. You can sort it, you can secure it. We're actually going to have a data storage layer. The reason that this is really cool. The reason that our fees will go to 30 cents is because we're launching an NFT/data storage layer. So if you've ever tried to store an NFT, not like have it on, but literally store it on chain, it can cost like $1 million. So this storage layer will enable it to be really cheap to store large bits of data or an NFT itself, or several NFTs. So what happens is we have a scaling, it doubles as a scaling layer. By having this layer, we can decide, okay, a transaction is going to go over here for a smart contract call, and it's going to go over here for a swap. And by splitting it up, that saves us a lot of money, and then we're able to pass that along to other people. So the go-to message is basically, you know, to make things fast and cheap and easy, but also to just kind of really address the pain points of normal people, not be thinking in terms of always, you know, like what is the consensus and what is the VC opinion or whatever, but just what are the real problems? And the real problem of blockchain, despite the fact that everybody here is really smart, is that the vast majority of people don't understand it. They don't want to know it, but it's a picture of a monkey. I don't get it. And that there is a skill to making a very, very complex concept extremely simple. There's a skill from a tech standpoint, and I would argue there's a skill from a marketing standpoint. I'm arguing that because my whole job depends on it, but I think it's true. And yeah, you know, so I don't want to live in a world where blockchain feels opaque and people don't really understand it. Layer 2 is another step. You have to bridge. How do you bridge? Let's make it easy and even fun, you know? And I think in addition to the fact that we have a great dev team that can pivot on a dime, by the way, we're an optimistic rollup. If we decide that ZK is better tomorrow, we can be a ZK, no problem. We can flip. That malleability, that humility, that rather than saying, we know that this tech is the best. By the way, that's how a company dies, is when you stick to one thing, whatever it is. I think the flexibility, the malleability, that tech variance that we can flip any way we want, and that accessibility to make it fast and make it easy and make it so anybody can do it. There just isn't another project that does that.
Nice. Ask one more question, then I need to leave at 7, so maybe ask one more, and then I think
after 7, it's okay. It ended up being a little clearer than I thought, so don't sweat it. But okay. I also don't want to overload your meeting and monopolize.
We have a lot of questions coming in, so I think it's all good. So my other question was awesome. So yeah, my other question was just more tactical, or more tactical, I guess more just operational. So how is it, because I haven't used Metis yet, how do you bridge? What's the bridging aspect? Like, how do you move ETH from just real simple stuff? How do you move ETH from Ethereum mainnet to Metis?
Yeah, so let me do share screen. I'll show you the bridge. So there's a couple ways. We have our own bridge and we have partner bridges, right? So this is the Metis bridge.
So I know there's a few folks here are pretty new to crypto. So what I'm asking here is just basically, let's say you buy some Ethereum, you have some Ethereum on the Ethereum mainnet, on the main chain. Here's like, because Metis is a L2, layer 2 chain, how do you get your coins, your tokens over to the Metis? And now Jonah's talking about using a bridge to bridge it over.
Correct. So bridge.metis.io, pretty simple URL. So right now this says mainnet. They're referring to our mainnet, right? So we can switch it. So what we can do is I'll switch on my MetaMask will actually be the best way to do it. I hope it doesn't show any token balances, but whatever. It's probably okay, fine. Oh, I have 0.1, nobody cares. Okay, so you see here that it says Metis. I can switch to Ethereum. Okay, so now I want to bridge in. So what do I have? I have 0.1489. Okay, I have $420 in US dollars in ETH. So I'm in Ethereum mainnet and I want to bridge ETH. I can do that. Select a number, 0.05. All right, there's a receiving address and I hit approve. I'm not going to do it because I use that for gas fees. But if you hit approve, it goes through MetaMask. It takes a couple minutes and that's it. One thing that you should know is that as an optimistic rollup, and this is a quirk and it requires a little getting used to, optimistic rollups have a long withdrawal period. And the reason that they do is to make sure that there are no bad actors and that there's no fraud. And withdrawals on a layer 2, because it's not Ethereum, need to be extra secured. As a result, it can take a week to withdraw. However, we have bridge partners, and those bridge partners are very helpful. Here are the bridge partners. So you look over here, we're partners with a project called Synapse Protocol, Poly Network, Seller, Boring DAO, and also Relay Chain. And you can see that we can bridge from various chains to various chains. So you're on Arbitrum and you want to go to or from Metis, you could use Synapse Protocol. You could bridge, let's say, USDC. It takes 2 to 5 minutes. It costs 0.04%. So that's the idea, is we are enabling third-party bridges to make it faster and cheaper to withdraw if you want to. And by the way, you can also deposit that. So our Metis bridge, which I showed you a minute ago, actually is only connected to Ethereum. So if I want to come in from another network, which is completely possible and plausible, I could do Arbitrum, Aurora, Avalanche, BSC, Boba, Harmony, Phantom. Phantom is misspelled. I got to get on our copy editor. That's me. I made the mistake. Polygon, whatever, Optimism. All of these are options that you could use with our third-party bridges. I'll just show you what a third-party bridge looks like. Let's go to Relay Chain. I like these guys. I've become friends with them in real life. Nice guys. Okay, so Relay Chain, cool. So here we're on Ethereum. We're going to change the network on MetaMask, maybe. All right. You can see, here's the Metis network. Boom, super easy. And what happens when you switch like that is that the apps that you're connected to switch too. So now, Relay Chain, see that? It's on Metis network. So if I want to send from Metis network to wherever, let's say I want to send it from Metis to Polygon. Okay. And what token do I want to send? Well, what do I have? I don't have that much in my wallet. I've got a little bit of Metis. It's wrapped Metis, but it's going to be the same thing. And I want to send 0.1 or whatever. That's it. I would just hit transfer. You can see the little fee there, and that's the end of it. And this bridge takes, I've used Relay, it takes like 3 minutes, something like that. So yeah, I mean, it is an extra step. There's no question about it. If you're new to blockchain, it is a, there is one more step, but we're trying to make it fast and easy and cheap as best as we can. And so we reach out to the best bridge providers that we can find. And we're like, make it fast, make it cheap, make it easy. That's all we care about. And they do that. And there are various, this is going really deep down the rabbit hole, but bridging can involve liquidity incentives and how do you convince somebody to bridge a token over. So this has to do with basically getting together with the DEXs on our network, the decentralized exchanges like Metis and NetSwap and so forth, and arranging liquidity pools. So if I, Houston, take my 3 Bitcoin and I bring it over to Metis, there has to be a way to be incentivized. So what happens is my Bitcoin arrives on the network in 2 or 3 minutes, and it costs me a couple bucks to bridge it or whatever. And now I go to netswap.io, and I could, let's say, pair my Bitcoin with USDC as a pair or with Metis or whatever, and I might get a 60% yield or 120% yield. Sometimes you can get 2 tokens as emissions on the same pool. So there's all kinds of ways to incentivize, and that is an important thing. Liquidity is very, 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 very important in blockchain, particularly in layer 2s. That is something that people from the get-go have expressed concern about, and we are always cognizant of it, and we're always working for incentives so that when people want to come over to our network, they are guaranteed to see nice returns on it by getting into a liquidity pool or farming or staking or whatever.
Thank you, Jonah.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mark, another question? Their hand raised?
Yes. So I'm not sure if you answer how many nodes there was on the networks, but how many validating nodes there is on the networks, and what's their incentive to validate transactions?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the verifier's dilemma, which is, I think we came up with that term, is very, very important. So it's a straight up staking mechanism. You have Metis tokens. Don't forget, it's a utility token. So you stake 200 Metis tokens, which we're trading about 150. Oh God, my math. What was that? 40K, 35K, something like that. Yeah. What? No, is that right? I'm an idiot. My brain is fried from the day. Yeah, 30K. So yeah, you stake about 30K worth. So obviously that's not as let's say democratic as anything else, because not everybody has 30K burning a hole in their pocket. But that is the nature of it, because there has to be skin in the game because it's an important job. And then you get rewards. You get staking rewards as you perform successful verifications. And the beauty part of these fraud proofs is it cuts both ways. So you get rewarded for like correctly performing fraud proofs. But if you put in fraudulent fraud proofs, if you just like claim that this is fraudulent, or you take rogue actions or whatever, you could be penalized and you can even be kicked off the network. So there's very much a layer of checks and balances. We're actually building something called reputation power, which is an on-chain mechanism to ensure that we have good actors. No doxing, nothing like that. We want to keep it all anonymous, but we have the ability to look at on-chain activity, and basically this, the system essentially decides based on reputation power what should happen next. How many verifiers we have? So we're at the beginning of our journey. We're less than 4 months in. So we have about, I think, like 60 verifiers right now. We will eventually have thousands. That is the goal. And we've gone through 9 reward periods. So the people who've staked 200 Metis tokens have 9 times received staking rewards, basically. So
out of these 60, how many Metis is controlling?
None. These are all other people.
So Metis is not running any node?
So hang on. So first of all, there's a single sequencer. We will have multiple sequencers. There's only one right now. We run it. We do have our own node as well, but it's not physically called a verifier node. But yes, we are running the network as well. Once we decentralize, we will fully divest of control to everybody else. So the verifier nodes are run by verifiers. We have our own node, and we also have our sequencer.
So how many Metis is running?
That is a question that I do not know offhand because I'm not a tech guy, but I could probably find that answer for you.
No problem.
Okay.
All right. Well,
if you move from desktop to mobile, by the way, the network tends to run. I don't know if you're talking about the meeting or if you're talking about Metis, but Metis tends to run more smoothly on desktop because it's a MetaMask issue. MetaMask mobile can be buggy, as you probably know.
yeah. All right. Well, we've taken up a lot of Jonah's time, so I just want to say thank you to Jonah. If there aren't any other final questions, I'll just check the chat one more time here, but it looks like we've answered all of them. Yes, thank you, Jonah, so much. I will follow up with Jonah to get all the links, and I'll make sure that everyone gets those links tomorrow.
And truly, as long as it's before March 23rd, you can DM me whatever you want, and we can chat and whatever. And like, I'm in DeFi, I want to try this thing out, or how does Metis work? I'm happy to go through with you. And
Awesome.
You can ask me questions that have nothing to do with Metis. I like talking about blockchain, and you seem like lovely folks, and I'm glad to be part of this group. So yeah.
Awesome, very gracious of you. And as always, I think like it's one thing to sit in on our conversation and have Jonah give us a demo. But ultimately, to learn DeFi, you just got to use it. So I would encourage everyone, go ahead, fund your wallet, bridge over to Metis, and try some stuff out, right? So ultimately, I think that's the best way to see, hey, is this blockchain for me? Like, it looks pretty impressive. Like those transaction times are pretty darn fast.
And the thing is, by the way, like, you don't need to, and I say this to my colleagues too, who are like, they're good at their jobs, but they're not DeFi heads. Like we are, use $100. Like, do not put your capital at risk that you can't afford to lose. The idea is just to test it out. It's not to be like, this is my rent money. Don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Don't sell your house, put it all, bridge it over right away. Just yeah, exactly.
Start slowly. Network, having 95-cent transactions now and 30 cents in a couple of weeks is actually with $100 you could do quite a bit. You can make a lot of swaps. You can mint an NFT for 0.1 Metis right now. That's pretty cheap, So
yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I think everyone's going to find out. If you're new to DeFi, then certainly you'll find out that every single chain has its own little personality, right? So you try it out and see, does this chain fit my personality? And then you'll find out, hey, do I like the dApps that are there? And just start to kick the tires and see, if it fits you. So ultimately, that's you become a better user or better. You understand better by using these dApps and these chains. So let's end it there. So thank you so much, Jonah. Appreciate you coming out tonight, and have a fantastic time off next week when you're off. Hope you're doing something exciting. Come back well rested. Yes.
Thank you. Hugs and kisses to everybody. Appreciate it.
Yes. And by the way, Jonah is actually based in Montreal. I don't know if you said that in the beginning. Yeah. Exactly. So one day we'll do these things IRL. We hope to get Jonah out and
I'll be there. And by the way, my colleague Stefan lives in Griffintown, and he's happy to attend as well. He's he's the most charismatic guy I know, and you'll love him and all that good stuff. Yes.
Exactly. So we'll have a chance to meet up with these guys
and have a beer with Jocelyn, Mark, and everybody else. That'll be great.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you, Jonah. All the best. All right. So thank you so much, Jonah, for your presentation. So let me take over the screen here now and share out my deck. All right. Just by a show of hands, I probably should have asked earlier while Jonah was actually on the call there. Has anyone used the Metis before? Having a hard time sharing here. Let's try that again. Nope. Yeah, likewise. I have not tried it either. What Ethereum sidechains or L2s have you guys used? Are there any L2s or sidechains, ETH sidechains that you guys like or have used?
Polygon.
Polygon, yeah, good old Polygon Phantom. All right, thank you, ZM. Share. No, it's okay, Mark. Someone's got to ask the tough questions. So I appreciate you being here and asking them. Yeah, this is not one of those calls where we just shill stuff. So, so I appreciate anyone asking questions or stepping up and asking the technical questions or questions that you want to know. So, by no means at all do I mind people, stepping up and asking detailed questions. Yeah, that's the beauty with.
Working. Things go all know, or I'm drunk already, but yeah.
It is 7 o'clock, so
exactly. So I've been drinking since noon, but it's St. Patrick's. But no, like Metis seems like just like a fork of Optimistic to me. Like they just like fork every update that Optimistic is rolling up. They're just forking it. So
yeah. And it seems like obviously the hot thing for them was like Jonah said. I can't seem to share my screen. Was that solidly fork, right? The Hermes fork. That certainly got them a lot of play because that project was very, very hot. Now the question is, does the money stay there, or is it mercenary and it leaves? Once the solidly / Hermes things kind of plays out. So yeah, so we'll see what happens there. I'm a bit on the fence about their strategy around DAX, digital autonomous companies. I still don't understand why companies, frankly, would want to go on the blockchain. So I'm still trying to figure that one. Like his example of hamburgers on the blockchain, I'm not sure why you'd need that. So I'm still trying to figure that one out myself. But who knows if it becomes such a maybe it's just signaling, right? Maybe it's just a signaling thing that everyone says, yeah, I'm blockchain, or I'm whatever, then people will do it. But at the end of the day, like I'm trying to figure out what's the point of having a decentralized blockchain that hosts hamburgers or any corporate data for that matter, right? So maybe some supply chain stuff I could maybe figure that out, but some stuff I'm like, you probably don't need to have broccoli on the blockchain. So
no, you don't need the hamburgers or broccoli on the blockchains. But you definitely have a lot of companies that interact together that do not trust them. They don't trust data, right? It's too easy to cookbook, right? So, like for example, the company I work for, we handle data from banks in Nigeria and all. They borrow money to Nigerian citizens. And obviously, Citibanks or any other big bank in America that will wish to invest in big banks in Africa still don't trust the accounting in Nigeria, for example, right? It's too easy to cook the books in many countries and all. So blockchain make it very transparent to who you lend the money, and each of the transaction you do, right? So it's very easy to audit all the transaction you process. So a lot of our company are processing transactions with us without, like I was saying on Telegram, on Discord, without even the customer knowing that they're using blockchain, just because the bank company that's lending the money to the end customer need like a transparent process in between, and blockchain end up to be like, even a private chain on blockchain end up to be the best way to use it because it's not easy to manipulate.
I see what you're getting at. I see the argument there. I'm always and we don't have to spend too much time on this because I think there's different philosophies, but certainly I still struggle with this idea that we need to have an inefficient blockchain database hosting this stuff versus just some trusted database somewhere that could just write back. You know, like it's like, and I know like maybe there's some reasons for that you could say, okay, well these things don't have to be trusted, so or at least minimally trusted, and so maybe then people will have less counterparties. But yeah, I'm still struggling with that one myself. Yeah.
Well, there's can be like in any case, there's can be like a ton of like different provider of a service that don't necessarily trust each other with the data, right? They don't want like one party to be in control of the data. So it's better that everyone, supports have a node basically of the data. Right, so they don't necessarily want that data to be public, right? You can be like an ice cream provider, but you want like you're creating ice cream. You want that the ice cream delivery guy, ship the ice cream, and that the temperature doesn't fluctuate too much because it doesn't go like too low. So the ice cream doesn't go bad, basically, and so the end up customer, the guy that received the ice cream, doesn't say like, "Oh, the ice cream is bad. It's because like you deliver it and it was bad." No, it's like
exactly.
Guy, right? So
if
you have like IoT in between, like sensor in between that sense the temperature in between and can record it and can send it to one private blockchain in between, you can alleviate that problems. And not trust anyone because everyone is running their own nodes, basically, right?
True.
Well, if that delivery guy is altering transaction, but everyone, running nodes, the company behind and the receiver behind and all having different transaction, that it's the delivery guy that's fucking up things, right? Or vice versa, right? So that's why private blockchain also have their place, I believe.
That's a good argument, and I love the fact that we're having this discussion during St. Patrick's Day, and you're drinking, and you've been drinking, and you're talking about ice cream. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
So guys, I apologize. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to log out of Google Meet for 1 quick second because for some reason I can't share my screen. So I'm just going to jump out real quick, and I'm going to jump back in, and then I'll continue with the presentation. So give me 1 second while I jump out. ZM, Jonah just sent over the links now as we've been chatting. I saw them come up in my Slack here. So I'll share them tomorrow when I broadcast out or send out the replay. Okay, give me 30 seconds while I jump out and jump back in. Okay, I have returned. Let me try sharing my screen here now. So I'll just begin to wrap things up here and go through my deck and just give. Usually we do this section in the beginning of the call, but because Jonah did have that hard stop, we pushed his presentation to the beginning. All right, wish me luck here. Can I share? Man, it's not letting me share. Great.
Are you able to share, Houston?
No, it's weird. It's telling me I don't. That it's a.
I have the same issue this week with meeting clients with Meet. I was not able to present.
Yeah, I know it's weird because I was working earlier, right? When I was when I had just, I don't know if an update rolled out or something or what, but I literally was sharing earlier.
Maybe because Jonah shared and he took the.
Yeah, but I think I should have rights. I should have rights now, right?
Yeah.
That's so weird. All right. Otherwise, I'll just jump over to another computer here, and then I'll try to use my other computer. Yeah, it's not letting me. So let me try my other computer here. Just jump over here.
Is everyone in Montreal?
Yes, I am. I think most of us are here in Montreal, if not all of us.
No.
I know. Well, Montreal Greater Region. Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for Jocelyn, he's a former Montrealer, LMPEI. All right, let me see if I can get my deck over to my other computer here. Maybe that will try to salvage things. Otherwise, what I want to quickly do here, I can just save this here. Bring it to my other computer.
Or maybe you can share it on the conversation and we can go through it.
Like share the PowerPoint itself?
Yeah, and we could like go through it all together.
Yeah, I'm just gonna open up it. I'm gonna open it up here on my other computer beside me, and I'll try to do it. So while I bring this up here, and anyone have anything interesting to chat about while I bring this up? John's in Toronto this week. Nice. Is it as warm over there as it is here in Montreal?
You mean who live in Montreal? Yeah, I am in Montreal, La Salle.
I think John was saying he's in Toronto right now. Oh, he's in Florida too. Nice. Okay, so this is I'm having a hard time bringing it up here. Okay.
Jocelyn say she's he is in PEI.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to bring this file over to my other computer. There's actually a Web3 event coming up. I've heard on this other Telegram group that I belong to. Next week, they're trying to set up a event. I believe on Thursday night, so probably next next week on this day, they're trying to set up an in-person event. So I think a number of sponsors will try to sponsor that event, from DeFi safety to other protocols. So it should be actually a pretty good event if they can get find a venue for it. I think they're trying to finalize a venue, but once I get that link, I'll post it in our Discord channel. But looking forward to, if you can make it out. I'm going to try to make it out. So if you can make it out, then we'll hopefully get a chance to meet up in real life. And certainly, I've been chatting with more folks in the Montreal community, and I think we'll have a chance to hopefully leverage some of these venues or some of these office spaces so that we can begin to run our meetups in person versus just doing these things virtually all the time.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So the Metis guys obviously have an office. I think they have a small office in Griffintown. And then I was chatting with another company called DeFi Safety. I might as well talk about it now. I'm still trying to get my other computer booted up here and going. But has anyone heard of DeFi Safety?
I think you talked about it last time, but I don't remember.
Yeah, DeFi Safety is actually a pretty cool site. I think if you just Google DeFi Safety, they're actually based in Montreal. So the founders are based here in Montreal. And what they do is they actually review DeFi protocols, and they're starting to review chains, so blockchains. And so what they actually will do is they will basically review the safety of these DeFi protocols and give it a ranking or grade. And they have like a whole template around, reviewing the code, reviewing, kind of the wallets, reviewing the developers, are they anonymous or non-anonymous, all these kinds of things. They've actually have a pretty good website set up where they have, I think they have easily over 100 projects already reviewed on there. And it's actually a really, really neat, interesting service they're offering, and it's all free, so there's no cost to it. And I was chatting with some of the guys over there, and they offered to they said, well, ask your community like what protocol would you like us to review next, and they'd be happy to review. So if anyone wants to throw some ideas in the chat pod there around protocols or chains that they want to review, the team over there at DeFi Safety are always looking for other protocols to review.
So what's their business strategy? They have like 8 people on their website as their team. These people they need to eat. Yeah,
I think right now they're about to raise their Series A. So right now I don't think they're actually monetizing yet. So I think they're still in the growth in the funding round. So I think ultimately what I see they're doing is that they're going to start partnering up other organizations to I think it's probably going to be more of a consulting type of engagement, where it's kind of like a B2B play. I believe would be the most sensible thing.
Yeah,
exactly.
Audit smart contract.
Yeah, I think it looks like that's probably the play in the beginning, at least, as they're getting deeper into the actual auditing front too. Right now, it's review. I think there's a difference between a review and what they're calling right now is what they're doing right now is reviewing versus auditing. Auditing would also also be the more technical version of it, where you're going through the code itself. Whereas right now they're doing more of a review, and that's kind of like safety checks around all the known sort of hacks that have gone on in the DeFi space, and kind of cross-referencing those things with these existing with these protocols. Yeah, I'm not able to bring it up here on my computer. This is kind of really annoying. So I'm going to email this thing to my other computer here, because it's really not working for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at a little bit more what they're doing and the process they're using.
Yeah, it's a pretty comprehensive website, and they had a good Twitter Spaces last week where they're partnering up with another company that does the fundamental analysis. So they get into the fundamentals and the tokenomics of these projects, and these two are partnering up together to evaluate these protocols to give a more comprehensive kind of review. So ultimately, I think this is a good service for DeFi users, right? I think we could all the rug pulls in this industry, and the scams and the outright sort of.
So it's not just based on technical analysis like Certic or Consensus.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So it's not just on the auditing of the code. It's the combination of tokenomics plus the auditing of not auditing, but the reviewing of what they know to be issues based upon previous prior hacks, and making sure that these things are there are no glaring holes that are there in these projects.
I mean, let's face it. Like Certic will certify a contract that has rug pull function if the rug pull function work as intended, right? I mean, the idea is just to fuzz the contract to see if there is no bad scenario where the contract is not reacting as it should. But if you have a function like rug everyone and take everyone token, and it works, then that's certified because
it works properly. Yeah, code is law, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. So that's the problem with some of these things, right? It's like, well, yes, that's how it works, but that's not a good intention there. So I definitely think that we could be better served as DeFi users. All right, so I want to send this email over to my other machine here. All right, here it is. Okay, let's pull this thing up and let's get going here because we are getting along now. into this. I'll just open this one up. Yeah, so if we can think of, brainstorm some projects, guys, it can be cutting edge stuff, or it could be, take a look at the website. They have tons of projects. I was Googling, or not Googling, but searching on the website. I was interested in some of these kind of more privacy related projects like Tornado Cash and, some of these other ones like XEVO. And they've done a lot of, reviews already on a lot of these protocols. So you'd be pleasantly surprised, before you dump your good money into any of these protocols. This should at least be on your checklist of things to do. Like, okay, pull up, there's obviously other services, like you said, already, Certic, there's Rug Doctor, there's a bunch of other ones. But I think, the more you can put, the more safety you can put on your, on your side, the better. All right, so let me try sharing my screen on this other computer. Okay, and share that out. Okay. Can everyone see this?
Yeah, your OBS is making like an inception out of it.
Oh my goodness. Wow. All right. I want to share this tab. Okay. There. Okay.
Color of love, red. We love it.
Hey. I don't want audio, no. Okay. All right. So where is my browser? Okay. So let's just go through the a brief crypto market overview and the DeFi kind of TVL rundown. So the bear market continues for crypto, as they've been calling since beginning of Jan. This is not unexpected. We've had a bit of a bounce now, but you clearly see that these are year-to-date numbers, right? So most things are red, except for there's some notable green exceptions on the heat map here, and they kind of make sense in terms of what's going on. Like for the most part, people have been continuing to move their monies over to stable coins. So the green parts clearly are the places where the stablecoin numbers are growing, right? So everyone's been anyone who's smart has been kind of sitting in stable coins and kind of farming that over there. There are some small exceptions. Luna has obviously been in, not obviously unless you follow the space. Luna has been in all the news because their biggest project, which we highlighted in January, right? Anchor Protocol continues to pump out 19.5% or 19.75%, whatever the number is nowadays. Sorry, Naga, but your Naga coin is not a top 100 coin, believe it or not. So yeah, Naga coin, is not a top 100 coin. I don't know where it falls in the top 100 or top 1,000 or top 10,000, but yeah, it's not on this list. But Luna continues to outperform. Antoine and I were talking about it, looking at that chart earlier before the call started. It's currently trading at $87, but last week it hit 104. That was the all-time high. So clearly it has to do with people's desire to generate yield and collect that 19.5% on the Anchor Protocol. Interesting developments going on there, though. There are some big whales now that are beginning to bet against Luna openly. And when I say openly, I don't mean like openly like on an exchange. I mean like openly on Twitter. So literally, you have these big whales who are taking side bets with the founder of Luna. So Do Kwon actually openly taking bets on Twitter, and these guys are betting that Luna will not be the same price as it is today a year from now. So currently, I think $11 million worth of open bets going on Twitter, whether or not Luna will go down. And when I say open bets, this is the money's been sent, being held in escrow on Kobe's multi-sig wallet, and so the guy GCR, he wants to actually increase his bet to 20 million open bet. So some big whales now openly betting Do Kwon, the founder of Luna, whether or not his tokenomics or his token can retain its value. So always good to watch these kinds of market cap stuff, just so you know what's in play. So the other ones, Waves, and it's a little small one here. I think it's like Juno. Yeah. So those two have been kind of popping off, which is kind of some small blips of green in an otherwise red market. And then there's stuff like Osmo, which is a DEX on on the Terra ecosystem. So Terra, I mean, it's part of the Luna ecosystem. So Terra Luna, that's part of their, that's part of the ecosystem, which is kind of, you can make sense of that. And Ruin, which is, basically Thor Swap, allows you to bridge coins between chains with very, very low fees. So instead of having to go to an exchange or a DEX like Uniswap or like a Binance to exchange coins, you can use Ruin and basically swap coins through that chain with very low fees. Although Ruin/Thor Swap, what you do need to be aware of is that they were hacked. It was a pretty significant hack several months ago, and so I think yes, it's popped significantly, but definitely still want to be watchful of. And then one final one, the all the stuff going on in Russia and Ukraine, the privacy coins have certainly got a lot of play. So Zcash, Monero has had a good little pump over the past week and a half, 2 weeks, and those coins are getting more play as people are now taking privacy more seriously with all the stuff that's been going on the past month or so with Canada and the war. Next chart is the DeFi total TVL. So here's what we looked at in our last month's meetup. So last month's meetup was 195 billion approximately TVL as of Feb 24th. Curve dominance was at that time 9.5%. So this month's data shows 206 billion and 8.88% curve dominance. So you would think that means, TVL has gone up. But actually, I think it's not even that TVL has gone up. It's actually just the issue with TVL. So the TVL stands for total value locked, as it says there. But that's not as once you get into this stuff, you learn very early on that TVL is not a great measure, because total value locked simply means like what's the value of all the assets currently locked up in these protocols. But guess what? The value is based upon token price, right? So the last couple weeks, last 2-3 weeks, tokens have started to come back up again because we had a good little crash, sell off about 3 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago. But since then, token prices have started to go up, and so it's not that more money is going into the space. It's just more likely that the token prices have bounced a bit, and so it looks like TVL has gone up. But I don't think that more people are actually incrementally adding more money into these DeFi protocols. It's just that the price of these tokens have been appreciating over the past 2 weeks. So something to understand there as you look at TVL. There is some nuance, and people are aware of this, but that's at this point the best measure that people have been looking, or best measure that people can use so far. Okay, so let's talk about some of the hot projects. So here's I like to look at this every single week, but if you join us every single month, then here's a bit of a recap. So some of the chains have moved up and down a bit. No real big surprises. So we saw Solana kind of Solana retake the number 5 spot, and Phantom has gone down to the number 6 spot. So that's kind of they just basically swapped places. Phantom had been very, very hot a month ago with that solid. You heard Jonah talk about the Solidly project. It was just it was a protocol that was being started by Andre Cronje, a very famous DeFi developer who also created Yearn Finance. And he whether whether I don't know if you pay attention to this stuff or not, but he did leave. So yeah, Mark, question?
Well, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like the guy left all his project to Trilemma, just go fuck yourself to all his project basically.
Yeah, he basically rage quit. Seems that way, although it's hard to tell because he had already closed his Twitter account a few weeks before that, right? He wasn't even tweeting anymore. So his partner, Anton, actually tweeted on his behalf, or not even on his behalf, but he just basically said, me and Andre are leaving. that was basically it. And so, yeah, we're out of here. Thanks for the good times. We'll see you whenever we see you. And obviously, a lot of their projects took a big hit because that came out of the blue.
On a Caribbean island, go fuck yourself, basically.
Yeah, a lot of people got burnt because they really, Andre has a really big following, and he had really built up that Phantom chain. Even though he had obviously been heading up that chain a lot, but he's not the only person on that chain. Clearly, there's a lot of other talented people developing on that chain, but his reputation precedes itself. And yeah, when he left, it definitely hurt a lot of the projects he was working on. So unfortunately, crypto has this bad history of really holding the heroes up high, right? And believing in people. And ultimately, whether it's Andre or Daniel Sesta or Elon Musk for the Bitcoiners, ultimately heroes always disappoint you. And then when they just do disappoint, then things get ugly. So as they usually do.
He pulled a Charlie Lee on us,
Sorry, say again.
I said he pulled a Charlie Lee on us,
Yeah, exactly. You saw the top. Yeah, exactly. Charlie Lee from Litecoin fame. Yeah, he famously dumped his Litecoin pretty much close to the top, 2018 or 2017.
Yeah, December 2017, he sold everything he had. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. He timed it. He couldn't have timed it better. But clearly, his followers got dumped on. He hasn't been forgiven since. So he definitely burnt a lot of bridges there. So let's finish up this slide. So Waves, I've never used that chain before, honestly. I don't know if anyone here's used Waves, but it bumped up, went from number 12 spot to number 10. So Waves, never used that chain. Don't know anything about it, to be honest. Yeah, Osmosis went down 1. Polkadot went down 1. So Polkadot, that's a hot chain, but not a lot of stuff going on over there. Clay went up, and DeFi chain has gone up. So pretty much everything, all these names have kind of remained in place. No real big changes around the TVL cross chain. Surprisingly, look at Terra. Like last month we saw it, right? Terra displaced BSC, or the BNB chain, Binance Smart Chain, and so Terra's on number 2. And yeah, the question is, how long can they stay up there? AVAX actually picking up some steam again. So AVAX, they had a lot of good news coming up last few weeks, and AVAX has been doing pretty well in terms of just price. But AVAX also another chain I like using as well, because it's actually the tech seems to be decent. They're the founder, Emran, is very kind of ornery type. Kind of likes to get into debates. But I like what they're doing there on AVAX, if you don't mind his personality. Okay, next slide. Okay, top projects by TVL. Again, just every single month I like to just go over these things so that to keep an eye on projects that maybe you've not heard of before. It's always a good idea just to watch what's kind of in play, what are the big players, and just have just keep that mental model fresh, so you understand what's going on in the DeFi space. No big changes on this list. I think everyone here, well, all the names here are pretty familiar for anyone who's been transacting or touching the DeFi space for any period of time. So Curve continues to be the big daddy that everyone wants. The Curve emissions. So everyone wants the Curve governance tokens. So Curve continues to be the project with the most amount of TVL. MakerDAO is the guys who make DAI. Just going down the list here. These are all OG names. The top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are all OG names. That means they've been around since the DeFi summer. So nothing new there to report there. Compound, another OG name. Yeah, Mark, chime in.
Aave just launched their V3 protocol. So
I'll talk about that. Do you have more details?
Not much. I didn't try it, but I know as well. Like Pancake just integrated into the Binance apps on smartphone, so that's cool too.
Oh, really? Huh? It's on the smartphone now. That's a big one.
They integrated into Binance apps. So like anyone that has like Binance on their phone can now like trade Pancake Swap.
Oh, that's a big one. That's a big one. That's very, very big. Yeah, the Binance app is very, very popular across the world, especially in South America. There's a lot of I've been hearing people talk about how popular the Binance app is in South America. In fact, like people use like the Binance coin. Binance has a USD coin. It's very popular down there, so they'll use it more than even, let's say, USDT or USDC. People use the Binance app to exchange money. Like you would, in America, people use Venmo or they use Cash App. Well, down there, they use, the Binance mobile device to exchange money.
Even Cake has been 26. Like in the last time I looked, today was 26% up in the last day.
Really? Huh? Yeah. So Cake is the Pancake Swap token. So that's the one. Yeah, I own some Cake, so I got to take a look at that. So I didn't realize that.
Uniswap, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, exactly right. So basically, PancakeSwap is the DEX on Binance Smart Chain. Binance Smart Chain being that third largest, chain by TVL. So yeah, that's interesting to see. So that's they're getting more and more integrated into that chain. Interesting. Okay, going on the list, nothing new here to report. Venus never used that chain, but the rest of them, SushiSwap, Yearn Finance, Balancer, Abracadabra. These are all things we've talked about last month already. Nothing new to report there. Yeah, all online. Here's kind of the hot projects that are going on right now, like based upon the change of their TVL trend in the past 7 days. TVL trend means this is all from. Well, you don't see it. It got the source is actually Token Terminal. So if you go to Token Terminal, just Google that. You'll see the actual data. Essentially, the trend is like it's a week-over-week comparison. Okay, so that's what the trend is looking at. So Thor Chain, as I mentioned already, we saw that big green box under the heat map. So a lot of people are trying out that chain now that it's kind of passed some of its audits, because as I mentioned already, it got hacked and it was a pretty bad hack. So a lot of folks have been concentrating and trying to fix those issues, and now it looks like they're back, and a lot of people have been testing that chain out, and it looks like it's so far a lot of money is going into that protocol, so it's not bad. Over the past 7 days, they made $257 million. That's not bad. Cap, we talked about this last month, but I haven't used it yet. But Cap is basically a free perpetuals futures exchange on Binance Smart Chain that trades just Bitcoin and Ethereum. So if you want to trade perpetual futures with no commission, that's Cap. So they only have 2 coins, as I said. That's so they still managed to generate close to $6 million with just those 2 products. Ribbon Finance. So remember last month, guys, we talked about dApps. dApps is that options protocol. Well, Ribbon Finance is another options protocol, another popular one, and they're beginning to generate some good money there. So 229 million last week alone. So not a bad. Ribbon Finance is growing very quickly. Definitely want to check out if you're into options and sticking money to pools that either write cover calls or sell puts. Idle Finance is a rebalancing dApp, so allows you to deposit your money and it rebalances it for you to earn additional interest. Then 1inch, that's the aggregator. Not sure why they're making so much money all of a sudden, but or more money all of a sudden, but that's not a new project. It's been around for a long time. Okay, so total money raised or total money made for the past 7 days. So Ethereum continues to be obviously the chain that generates the most amount of fees. Even though the fees have been going down quite a bit in Ethereum, they are still making the bulk of it because obviously they are an actual chain, a blockchain. So they collect, anytime there's fees, they collect money. OpenSea continues to be the dominant dApp, or that's not even distributed. So the dominant app that makes the most amount of revenue, 37.5 million from selling NFTs alone. That's not bad money. Selling pictures on the internet, making $37 million each week. You can imagine what the margins are, right? Like you don't need to have a lot of people to sell JPEGs on the internet. You know what I mean? So that's not bad. DYDX is doing a really, really good job. DYDX, I mentioned last month, this is actually decentralized trading platform that does both spot trading as well as futures trading on, I think it's Matic, right? I think it's the L2 chain that uses ZK technology. Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, sorry, I don't want to break the party, but like most NFT platform are just recycling the money, right? Like laundering,
It's just exactly wash trading.
Funds, like multiple time, especially if the fees are low, just to prop up volumes,
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of wash trading going on in the NFT space, especially it's a bear market. It's a bear market, and
at the creator levels, but at the platforms level as well, right? I mean,
yeah, you're right. I'm pretty sure that exactly these guys are probably doing a lot of wash trading just to make the volumes appear higher. So that's the hard thing with these numbers is that it's just basically like the left hand feeding the right hand going back to the left hand kind of stuff, right? So it's kind of hard to see it's difficult to know exactly how much of this stuff is legitimate. when it comes to the
Even
NFT
the
stuff.
platform doesn't know. Like even OpenSea, for example, doesn't know. Like it's good for the creator to just wash trade a lot of their trade, like a lot of their NFTs, knowing that they pay like 2.5% to OpenSea. If they can wash trade a lot, and all.
Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, because ultimately, it's not a. I don't think it's a like
it's not
trading
different
NFTs.
World though.
Yeah.
Like arts in the real world is exactly like that as well.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the funny thing with the non-fungible space, right? This is not a space where institutional money can really get involved, right? Because they're non-fungible. so I think it's Rift. It's kind of ripe for this kind of unfortunately this kind of these insidious actions, and it's going to be hard to get rid of these. It's going to be hard to clean up this industry. Because there's just no, I don't know, unless someone gets burnt or some regulation comes down on it, it's gonna be very hard to ever see this. I can't see how it kind of gets cleaned up until something blows up or someone gets really burnt, and the regulation forces them to have to clean up that act. DYDX,
Regulations are really pro like arts, right? Like if you give like arts to a museum, you can claim like tax deduction, right? So it's in your purpose to make the arts that you give to a museum worth way more money, right? So
very true. Yeah, very true. To pump up the value of it, exactly. Absolutely. So OpenSea is like LooksRare is basically a fork of well, not a fork, but basically they're trying to vampire attack. So LooksRare is a decentralized version of OpenSea. They're trying to do a quote unquote vampire attack on OpenSea. So basically they have their own token, and they're trying to incentivize people to use LooksRare as a NFT platform instead of OpenSea by airdropping a bunch of tokens to people. But ultimately, what happens is that a lot of folks there are doing the same thing. They're just doing a bunch of wash trading of not just the NFT themselves, but the actual tokens themselves to try to create volume. Same thing in DYDX, as I mentioned already. That's actually a futures exchange and margin and spot exchange for trading. But there's a lot of wash trading going on as well. So not unlike in the Forex world or a long time ago in equities trading before it got cracked down, exchanges were incentivized to show fake volume to pretend that they had a lot of volume, so that either attract customers. DYDX certainly does a lot of that, I believe, because they have more volume than Uniswap. I think what basically all it is they're incentivizing market makers to just do a bunch of trading, even this, just like this, right? You throw the ball one way, you throw it back the other way, you throw it back that way, you create volume that way, and then they get token incentives. So how you can see this, why this is probably true, is because you can look at the token price and it's terrible, right? If you look at DYDX, you pull up the token price, it's like close to all-time lows. Now, a company that's generating $18.8 million per week in revenue, you wouldn't expect their token price to be at all-time lows. So that's the reason, right? Because they keep inflating their tokens by basically just printing them and giving them as incentives for people to wash trade. All right, so down the line, Convex OG project that supports that is tied to the Curve play. Binance Smart Chain doing well. Pancake Swap. So look at these two. Pancake Swap and Binance Smart Chain hand in hand, are both generating $7.2 million in revenue. Lido Finance is a staking platform for ETH. Mark, chime in.
Sorry, your screen has been stuck for me on the same screen for like a few minutes. So did you switch screen or what?
No, I'm still on the past 7 days. Yeah, I'm just moving down the list now, talking about BSC, then Smart and Pancake Swap with a 7.2 million. Yeah, my mouse is moving now. There we go. Hey. Okay. Where did you go here? Okay, so AVAX 4 mil. So that's good for Avalanche. That's another else, the one I talked about before. Look, Bitcoin's down here. Bitcoin $2.2 million in revenue. So that's from their fees. That's interesting. Actually, I don't know where that number comes from, the Bitcoin number. That's probably Bitcoin on Ethereum. Or actually, I don't know where that number comes from. That's a weird one. So I don't think I'm pretty sure that Bitcoin miners are making more than $2.2 million in fees over the past 7 days. Otherwise, it would be a real problem for security. So that number there, actually, I need to dig into that because I'm not sure what that means.
For sure, they're making much more on mining.
Yeah. Because that would be a problem. If it's $2.2 million in fees, then they cannot pay for security at that point.
Okay, we go to Ethereum and everything else. Right?
Yeah.
Let's go to Metis, right?
That's it. Trader Joe is a DEX on AVAX. So they're actually doing pretty well. Look, AVAX is making 4 mil. They're making close to half of that themselves. Okay, one final slide here, and then we'll wrap things up. We'll do our POAP giveaway. We'll wrap up right on 8 o'clock. So here's a couple funny ones. So Dogecoin actually made 77,000 last week. Not sure. I was trying to find news about why Dogecoin all of a sudden was making revenue. I couldn't figure out how they're doing it. So I was doing a bunch of Googling. I couldn't figure out why. 77,000 is actually not a lot of money. so yeah, compared to DYDX, which made 18 million alone last week. So not sure what Dogecoin is doing there. Near protocol, these are very small numbers. So I just thought it was interesting to show you Dogecoin, AR Weave. Again, these are just because it's such a small base, right? It's an 81%. So last week was probably closer to like what, $2,000 or $3,000. So the point is that one data point does not make a trend, but certainly worth watching to see if these things continue. Airweave, we know that one already. Talked about that last month. Airweave is the infrastructure play for blockchains, and Liquidity is what's Liquidity? It's a lending platform, right? You can borrow ETH, or you can borrow stablecoin by depositing ETH. Okay, so that's it for those revenue numbers. We'll begin to wrap up here now. So resources. So there's CoinGecko. I got a lot of these numbers. DeFi Llama, where I got the TVL numbers. Metis. Jonah sent me all those links over. I see it in my Slack now, and I'll paste it into an email tomorrow. Send it out. And the heat map comes from cryptorank.com if you want to go there for that heat map. If you don't know about our Discord channel, please join it. I think everyone on this call is probably already in there. If you're not, if you're listening to this recording, then I will have it in the email I send out tomorrow. But I'll also drop it right now into the chat pod. Well, I'll wrap it up here. I'll drop it in there afterwards. Please join the Discord room. We were hanging, more of us are hanging in there each day now, and chatting throughout the day and dropping links and things that we're looking at. And finally, I'll just do the POAP drop, and then we'll open it up for questions if there are any left over here because we're right at 8 o'clock. So if you don't know how to do the POAP drop, we did it last month. Download the POAP app from the App Store. So either from the Google Play App Store or the Apple App Store. I downloaded it already. And then once you download it, remember the secret word. It's a really hard one. DeFi Montreal 3. This is our third event, DeFi Montreal 3. Once you get the app on your phone, you're going to see the following. You can do the following three things, okay? You open the app. You go to the Mint button in your bottom right-hand corner. You click on the Mint button. You click on secret word. You type in DeFi Montreal 3, and you will get the POAP. This is last month's POAP. This month's POAP is just as fancy, and you can drop it in there, and you will get that POAP delivered to your app. Okay, so it looks like someone already claimed it. Awesome job. And it'll look like this. I'll show mine. There you go. It'll look like that. Done. Thank you, Mary. I think you're the first one to claim it. All right. It's kind of a mishmash. I think it's like a picture of the old port. I'm using this website called WombArt to generate these things. So it's actually generatively created by this website. Yes, sir, Mark.
Is this event happening every month or every?
Yeah, we're doing them every month, and we're leaving it up to the community to try to decide our cadence. So I've been trying to run these every month, but definitely open to doing them more often. Thanks, Tech. Good to see you. based upon what the community wants. So if you have ideas, you have feedback about how you want the community to evolve, how you want to see it grow, yeah, then please join us in the Discord, join the DAO chat channel, contribute, and begin to have your ideas heard and feedback heard.
And so
I'll drop it in the
what's
chat.
The DeFi Montreal DAO.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a call tomorrow. So I'm just going to type in something for John here. It's called Wombart. Wombart. Yeah, Google that, and that's the app that creates the art. You bet. Yeah, so tomorrow, Friday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., we have our weekly community call where we're organizing ourselves and structuring ourselves into a DAO. So we've had 2 calls already. We're beginning to get contributors. We defined, we need some more work around defining our vision, our mission, and some of the areas we want to focus on. But we have a few people now stepped up and contributing actively. And if you want to join us, then yeah, you can either come to the Discord, add your name in there, and then I'll add you to our Notion website. So right now Notion is being used for threaded discussions. So there you'll see all of our work streams and who's doing what right now. But tomorrow we're going to continue to work through some of these work streams and talk through the next steps towards structuring our governance properly and ultimately forming that DAO.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, so I'm going to check this POAP art again and see how many folks have claimed it while we're on this call. All right, so I see a couple more people in there. All right, so awesome. So also, what's neat is that we're going to use these POAPs, right? So if you don't claim them, you're missing out, because we're actually going to be using the POAPs in the future to gate our community. So having a POAP is going to allow you to enter in to certain parts of the community, and potentially POAP, is what it's meant for, is that it shows your proof of attendance. And as POAP owners, maybe there's a chance to get airdrops if you own enough POAPs, right? So we'll see about that. That's up to the community to decide how we want to reward folks who have been active and showing up to these events. So final thing I'll talk about the POAPs is the secret word expires in 1 week. So you have a full week to claim your POAP. So if you're hearing this video, tomorrow or later, you have until the 24th of March to claim your POAP and get that onto your wallet. All right. So we're at past 8 o'clock now. Just going to open it up here now, and again, sorry for some of the technical difficulties. We'll try to get it figured out next time. Any questions, guys, as we enter into the final innings of this call?
You've been awesome as a guest, as a host. Sorry.
Thank you, Mark, and I really appreciate your questions and your contributions. So hope to see you on our Discord and even in the DAO on the DAO chat side.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Everyone else, let's think about like I said, the DeFi safety crew. They're offering to do a review, right? So let's put our heads together. If there's any ones that that stick out to you that you're curious about, yeah, drop them into our Discord, and let's see if we can, come to some agreement about a protocol that could be interesting for them to review. And that's they're in Montreal too, right? So we're gonna get a chance to, if you hang out here long enough, we're all gonna get a chance to meet, and we're gonna get a chance to meet up some of the guys who are on some of these teams and see what they're doing. All right, so no other questions. So let's wrap it up then. So again, appreciate everyone coming out tonight. And again, thanks to Jonah for that presentation. And I hope to actually, the DeFi safety guys, they actually offered to do a presentation in next month's meetup. So if we want to think about some things you might want to ask them, we can get them prepared and have them talk about some things that could be interesting for next month's meetup. So something to think about for planning next month's presentations. So that's a wrap. Thanks everyone. And for the folks who want to join the DAO call tomorrow, sign up on meetup.com or on our website, luma/DeFi Montreal. And we'll see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock as we continue to build out our DAO with full transparency, completely in the open, and completely community driven. It does have Tornado Cash as a review. So yeah, check it out. Yeah. All right, guys and gals, awesome seeing you. Thanks everyone for coming out. We'll see you again soon. Take care. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye, Antoine.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye, Marius.